struck me when I was doing some research for the Irrational Atheist was that the lifespan of rural Romans was comparable to people today. If you look at how long some of the famous Romans lived, it's actually rather startling. I mean, even when they ended up getting executed or something, they ended up living a fairly long life. I mean, for example, Cicero, Marcus Tullius Cicero, you've heard of him. He actually didn't die a natural death. At least I don't think so. I'm trying to remember. Was he executed by? Let me see here. Yeah, he was executed because he had made an enemy of Marcus Antony and so forth. He was executed by the triumvirate. And so, but he was executed at the age of 63. Now, that's very different than people tend to think about ancient times. But we know that especially the upper classes who spent a lot of their life in the rural parts outside of the big city of Rome, a lot of them actually lived pretty long lives. Let's see how long Octavian lived, or Caesar Augustus. So he was the first emperor, right? And he lived to be 75 years old. Now, this is very contrary to what most people tend to think of when they think about, our people live so much longer and all that sort of thing. But the reality is that what's changed is civilization, Western civilization in particular, has given people the ability to live in cities without dying like vermin. When they moved into cities, cities are where people used to die very quickly. And because we have much better sanitation, because we have better nutrition and all that sort of thing, we have the ability to live in cities. Now, if you live out in the country and you manage to avoid falling off your tractor, you've managed to avoid getting in a car crash, then you're going to be fine in most cases. Frank Underwood says, when the economic collapse comes and the cities start to starve, what will happen? Will the cities fight among themselves or unite against the rural? Well, they're not going to be able to unite. They're going to be in total chaos. It's going to be totally unlivable. And then, of course, they're going to try to spread out to the country, but they're not going to make it. They're not going to make it very far. And so, but what's disturbing is that we are already seeing this process in motion. We're already seeing the decay of civilization. Baron von Metzgenstern adds, people always miss that the average lifespan is skewed by childhood death. If you survived to 20 but didn't die in war, you'd live to be in your 70s or 80s. Yeah, that's true as long as you weren't in the cities. People who live predominantly in the cities tended to die off. That's why in Europe, we still have the tradition of going to the mountains in the month of August, because that's when the fever used to sweep the city because it was too hot and people would tend to get ill. And so, but what we're seeing now is we're seeing the collapse of the infrastructure. We're seeing the collapse of basic sanitation. I was reading that there's something like some incredible number of complaints about the amount of human sewage on the streets in cities like San Francisco and Denver. Los Angeles' City Hall has rats and fleas running riot in its halls. There is a typhus outbreak in Los Angeles. A city employee actually contracted typhus at work. And these problems are sweeping across the urban environments. They're worse in the warmer areas, for obvious reasons, but it's going to be all over the place, and it's going to be all over the cities. And it's kind of ironic because look at how many people support immigration and then try to blame Jenny McCarthy for murdering people because she's against vaccination. Vaccination is not the answer, and not vaccinating is not the problem. The problem is the immigration combined with the complete degradation of societal standards. There is no way that people are going to be able to survive in the city much longer. It's going to start collapsing. What we're already seeing in Los Angeles, the thing is, right now it's under control. But the Black Death of this century is coming. And they're not going to be able to bring it to an end. They're not going to be able to stop it. And so, those of you who have favored immigration need to understand this is the result. The world is not going to end in ice or fire. The world is going to end in filth.